she kisses him, he remembers. It's as if his past lives come flooding back to him, much like when we remember who we are by knowing all is love. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of TrueLove Talks. Today I want to talk about Stranger Things. I had a comment on my video yesterday asking me about my stranger experiences, so I'm going to share a few with you. Some of these are positive ones and some of them are kind of on the darker side. There isn't really anything here that's really bad, but if you're easily triggered, perhaps you may not want to listen. I'll want to let you know this so you can make your own decision. I don't know what's going to trigger you. I've had a lot of different types of experiences. I've had experiences with like ghosts and interdimensional beings, some kind of entity following me around, or at least it seems that way. I've had experiences with telepathy, visions, deja vu, a lot of different types of experiences. Meditation, I've seen things in meditation that were pretty cool. I've had some experiences that kind of freaked me out, but nothing that's really, well, yeah, I guess, depending on the state of mind that I was in, when I was in my conspiracy mind, I got freaked out quite a bit because of some of these experiences. I'm gonna go into one of those today, and it wasn't that bad. In the moment, it was kind of scary. When I was about 12 or 13, I was on my way home from school and was just about a couple houses away from home when I had a vision of my mom in the backyard crying. And this wasn't something that had happened to me before, but it didn't seem unusual to me. So when I went inside the house, I just went straight to the backyard because I knew my mom was there, and that's where I found her. She had just had some bad news, and so she was crying in the backyard. And I told my mom what had happened, that I saw the vision of her, and she thinks I'm weird. When I was in my conspiracy mode and afraid of things and thinking that the world was possessed with these, dark, elite, terrifying people, I had what would be classified as a targeted individual type experience. I had a lot going on at the time, and there were things that were happening that suggested to me that I was being followed or watched. And so I was in a store. The radio on the overhead system started to play the song Private Eyes. Private eyes are watching you. So I got scared and left the store, and I had to go to the grocery store after that, so I thought I'd just go in there and make it quick and leave. But the grocery store started to play a song that was equally as spooky, and there were a couple of people who seemed to be following me around the store, and they started to sing along with the song. So I got spooked again and dropped my stuff and left. I shortly realized after that it was self-created and it never happened again. Repeating NPCs. When I was on the bus one day, there were very few passengers, so I could take note of who was on the bus. And 3 people in particular drew my attention for some reason. And so I was just watching them for a little bit. And I went and did my thing, and then a few hours later came back on the bus to go home. Well, those very same 3 people got on the bus, but all at different stops. They didn't even know each other, but they all got on my bus on the way home, which I thought was really weird. This one's a little dark. Devil in the ceiling. I was staying at a friend's house because she was away, and so I was house sitting, and I was just going to sleep the first night I was there, and I wasn't sleeping. I was fully awake. I literally just got into bed, and I opened my eyes and looked up at the ceiling to see this devil-like creature poking its head down at me through the ceiling. And it realized that I wasn't my friend, and it withdrew. But for some reason it didn't really scare me, and maybe that's because of all the other weird experiences I've had, but I did find it weird. I did find it disturbing. And it didn't happen again. I stayed there for a week, but it didn't happen again. So it's like, what kind of things is my friend up to? crying man. When I was staying with my parents, and there had been a fatal car accident around the corner from us. A young 20-year-old was killed on a motorcycle by somebody driving a minivan. It was ruled an accident, but a few nights after that happened, right before I went to bed, I started to hear a man crying, like sobbing, full-on sobbing. And it was muffled, but it was clear, as if it was happening around me, like in the physical. So I called out to my dad to find out if he was okay, because I thought it was my dad. And I'm like, my dad doesn't cry, so it can't be, but I'm hearing it. And my dad was fine, but my mom was asking me why I was asking. And so I told her, I said, I hear a man sobbing. And she said, I don't hear anything. And so then the sobbing stopped, but the next night I heard it again. And so I asked again. I said, do you hear that? And my mom said, no, I don't hear anything. And she says, well, maybe you're just dreaming. I know I wasn't dreaming, but I told her I was because she thought I was weird. So that night I focused on the sobbing, and I realized that it must be the man who hit the boy on the bike. It had this sort of sense of guilt, not fatherly loss. Anyway, so I focused on him, and I sent him a message telepathically. I said, it's okay, he's okay. You didn't do it on purpose. Don't punish yourself, don't blame yourself. And I just said it over and over again until I felt he heard me. And I never heard the sobbing again. All I can figure is that I was probably receptive to hearing him, so that's why I heard him. But yeah, that was really interesting. I might have told this one before, ghosts in the apartment. When I first moved to Toronto, I heard 3 20-somethings in the corner of my bedroom giggling, and I mean, these are ghosts. They were not in my room, but I could clearly hear them giggling and whispering in the corner of my room, as if they were literally in the room. It kind of spooked me, but I wasn't terrified to the point that I wanted to leave or anything. I just sort of ignored them and thought they would go away, but they didn't. The next night, they were whispering and giggling and talking about me again. And then 2 of them moved from the corner to the other side of my bed, and they were whispering and giggling over there. And then one of them came right up to my ear and whispered my name in my ear really loudly. And so I shot up out of bed and I said, what do you want? And they didn't say anything. And I said, just stop it. Go away and leave me alone and never come back. And so they did. They left. They never came back. Another story, I know I've told this one before. This is the story of my grandmother. When I lived in London, England, my Finnish grandmother got very ill, and my mom went to go stay with her because it was likely that she was going to die. And I was in bed one night, just about to go to sleep, when my grandmother appeared at the foot of my bed. She told me that everything was going to be okay, and then she left. But she was there solidly, like I could see her. I could see through her. And I knew it wasn't her. I knew it was an apparition. But again, I was like, okay, why are you coming to see me? Like, why me? And my grandmother didn't speak fluent English, so there was no way that she would have said that because she wouldn't have known the words. I didn't know what she meant by that, like everything was going to be okay. I kind of think that in 2020, I realized that that was what she meant. That the events that started in 2020 were what she was referring to. That night she died, and my mom told me the next day. So I went to go be with her. And when the events of 2020 started, I was really having a hard time. So I asked my grandmother if that's what she meant by this. And at the time I was listening to the radio, and the song switched to Tears for Fears, Break It Down Again. That song has been something that I have referred to several times throughout the last few years when I needed a boost or just some feeling of reassurance that I'm doing the right thing and that everything's going to be okay. And some of the lyrics are pretty telling. I couldn't believe how meaningful they were. So those are my dreams, and these are my eyes. Stand tall like a man, headstrong like a horse. When it's all mixed up, better break it down. In the world of secrets, in the world of sound, It's in the way you're always hiding from the light. See for yourself, you've been sitting on a time bomb. No revolution, maybe someone somewhere else could show you something new about you and your inner song. And all the love in the world won't stop the rain from falling. This one's a little weird, and it's something that I'm not even sure I want to share. So for those of you who have been listening since 2017, you remember Tara. She was a friend of mine, and we were good friends, and we helped each other through a lot of things with laughter. And there were a lot of things that Tara liked, and she was very particular about the things that she liked, but very vocal about them at the same time. Several of the things that she liked were colored socks with odd sayings on them, or odd pictures on them. She liked to smoke weed to help her with her illness. She loved unicorns and Alice in Wonderland, which is why she named her channel Alice in Mandela Land. In 2018, she chose to exit early, and I was at work at the time. I was getting text messages from her and a mutual friend, and suddenly I couldn't get hold of her anymore because she had turned off her phone, and so I started to panic. And then I had a moment where I saw where she was, and I saw her do what she did, and I'm not going to get into graphic details because that would just trigger people, but I later found out that it happened exactly the way that I saw it. So that was one weird thing, but that's not where it ends. About a month later, I was shopping and came across a shop that was named after her YouTube handle, only slightly modified. And so I went inside and found that everything inside the store was a representation of her. There were colored socks with sayings on them. There were weed smoking paraphernalia, unicorns, pretty much everything in there was like an aspect of her. The strangest thing about it was there were depictions of things in the store that she had shared with me. For example, let's say she told me a story where she got hit by a car. She didn't, but let's just say. Then there was a pair of socks with a silly cartoon of her getting hit by a car and maybe like some kind of caption on it that would say something that she had told me. And there were several instances of this sort of thing with things that she had told me. So for a moment I thought that she had lied about everything and she had been to a store like this or to that particular store, which is impossible. So I thought maybe she had seen these things and built up a story and lied about it, but that just didn't make any sense. And so I later figured out that it was a massive message to me, and I thought it was really fascinating that it materialized this way. Another thing is she used to hear messages in songs on the radio, so she'd play the radio all the time. And after she died, she would send me messages on the radio. So we used to communicate for a while. I used to talk to her, and she would answer me through songs on the radio. Then one day I was in a store, and I was particularly thinking of her, talking to her, and I said, something like, if you're hearing me, then show me, give me a sign. And so I walk in the store, and it's full of unicorns. So I started laughing. And I started talking to her about why she died, and she cracked a joke about it, and it made me laugh. And reflecting on the entire experience, I feel like she was a message to me. The embodiment, like everything that she personified was a message to me, which I can't really explain. I just don't know how to explain it. But when someone comes into your life and helps you understand something or gives you an experience that you needed to have or were supposed to have, that's kind of what I mean by that. Oh, here's another experience I had that is particularly odd. So let's see if I can remember it accurately. I was kind of meditating at the time, and I think this might have been the time I was listening to this YouTuber who a couple of times triggered negative experiences, because I would fall asleep listening to his YouTube channel and find weird things coming through his channel that either hypnotized me or something. I'm not sure what it was, but I had really negative experiences by listening to this guy. Anyway, I was in a meditative state and had found myself, I guess it was more along the lines of a outer body experience than a meditation. And I was in the living room in my apartment, but I was meditating in my bedroom. So suddenly I was in my living room and I was on my yoga mat, and all of a sudden the mat lifted up in the air and it started moving, and it was like something was moving it, like it was taking me somewhere. And so I had to stop it from taking me somewhere. And then I ended up snapping out of it. But when I snapped out of it, it wasn't like I was just waking up or anything like you do when you wake up from a dream. It felt as if I had traveled from somewhere. Like it took me a while to get back. That was really interesting. And that didn't happen again. But like, listen, a lot of people are really scared of these sorts of experiences, and they're really afraid of, I don't know, demon possession, or they think that something's going to enter their body and they're never going to get it out of them. And a lot of people are very judgmental about these sorts of experiences. If you share something like this, some people they think you're dabbling in, evil stuff. So stay away from that person. And it's too scary to share. Don't freak out people by sharing it. Which is why I have mixed feelings about sharing this sort of stuff, because of the judgment, of the labeling, and misunderstanding what it means, and thinking that, because I have these sorts of experiences, therefore I must be satanic, witchcraft, evil, dabbling in horribly evil things, what have you. There's nothing evil in it. It's just what scares you and what doesn't scare you. And your perception of something as being scary is usually because you haven't experienced it, you don't know what it is, it scares you because it's the unknown, or it scares you because you're out of control. Something else is in control. So if you forget that you're in control and you're allowing something to take control, or you perceive that something's taking control, then you're going to get scared. And the fear is what allows something else to take control, which is why I included the experience of the targeted individuals, for example, because that experience, first of all, that's how I know that being a targeted individual is self-created, because I was there, I'd been through it. The other thing is that when you're in a state of fear, other things are able to take control. They take control of your experience, they take control of your mind, take control of your thoughts, and your thoughts manifest weird and funky things in your personal experience. When you regain control of your thoughts, those things go away. So if those things go away because you've regained control of your thoughts, then your thoughts are what created it in the first place. So really, the only thing that you have to be afraid of are your thoughts. This place is so weird, and part of the weirdness of it is that we're not able to share this kind of thing, and a lot of people find it very unusual. But for me, this stuff is normal. This stuff happens all the time, and I've shared some of these things with friends and they get spooked. It's just too out of the ordinary, and they're too busy focused on the physical world to even consider anything like this as normal. A lot of people are very positive minded and refuse to look at anything that's perceived to be dark or scary. So yeah, I mean, I understand if you don't want to share something because there's stuff that I've been through that I don't feel comfortable sharing. And the reason I don't feel comfortable sharing it is because of the judgment, and because of, the experiences that I've had on YouTube of people using my vulnerability against me. I've been open about a lot of things that have happened to me, and open about my feelings about certain things. And, you know, there's the odd troll or hater or narcissist who will use that as a weapon against me. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. And if you feel comfortable sharing your experiences, I would love to hear it. And if you would rather send it to me privately, you can feel free to do that as well. I know some people want to share things, but they don't want to share them with everybody. But there is a need for us to share our experiences with other people to feel less alone, and that's fine too. I just hope this helps you feel less alone. Alright, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. Hope you're having a great night. I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye for now.